Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Township of Chatham Township Committee meeting of August 17th. Greg, has adequate notice been given?
Yes, adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act as follows. Notice was given to both the Chatham Courier and the Morris County Daily Record on January 6, 2017. Notice was posted on the bulletin board in the main hallway of the municipal building on January 6, 2017. And notice was filed with the Township Clerk on January 6, 2017.
Thank you, Greg. Can we rise for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Maurer is away. Mr. Kelly?
Here.
Mr. Sullivan?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Here.
Mayor Ritter is also out of town.
Before we move to approve the agenda, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say a few words pertaining to the riotous and fatal confrontation so many of us witnessed over the weekend in Charlottesville, Virginia. I look around this room, I look around my community, and I know full well these were not our people. I look around Chatham Township, and I know that those actions and reactions are not our actions. Racism, bigotry, segregation, hatred, and violence have no place here. They have no place in Chatham Township. They have no place in our United States of America. While I do not intend to speak for the individuals that sit side by side here, I do echo the sentiments of the many of you who have taken time to email me and stop me on the street and in the produce aisle of ShopRite. That is for our kids to understand with no uncertainty how we feel about these horrifying displays of confrontation, that we as Americans will never accept segregation, bigotry, or racism. And to do so, particularly as a call for patriotism, is sickening and twisted and goes against all that we stand for in America today. For our kids to understand with no uncertainty that the hatred and violence we witnessed in Charlottesville, the insidious rationale of white supremacists, neo-Nazis, or the Klan will never be indicative of who we are. As a Catholic Christian, from the very beginning, I have been taught to turn the other cheek. Yet we know in our defense of, and in fact in our demand for equality and freedom, for opposition to racism and segregation, this is not always possible. And to do otherwise would be to turn our back on the history of our national struggle towards unity and racial equality. And while we cry for peace, while we pray for peace and set the example of peace, we know that there will be no peace while there exists the evil of racial division. And while we are called to turn the other cheek, so too are we called to defend our bedrock ideal of equality. Here in Chatham Township, we owe it to our children and our grandchildren to exemplify this and to stand vigilant in opposition to those who seek to divide us and to undermine our unity, our constant quest for equality, and our desire to remain a peaceful nation. Ladies and gentlemen, there is so much more that unifies us in our national journey than there is that divides us. We stand together, welcoming all races, religions, and origins into the fabric of our American tapestry. And I thank you for your time.
Karen,
Please, Michael.
in response to the same situation, and thank you, Karen, for those good comments.
My pleasure.
Charlottesville was invaded last week by demonstrators with un-American beliefs, racists, bigots, neo-Nazis, anti-Semites. Thank God it didn't happen here in Chatham Township, but it could have. And in a sense, it does happen here every time someone in our schools or in our neighborhoods is harassed or bullied or discriminated against because of their race, religion, sex, or social standing. We need to speak out in support of communities like Charlottesville, where one person was killed and a number of others were seriously injured because they had the courage to speak out against evil. But we also need to teach our children and to live our lives so that we practice what we preach. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Well, I guess I'm odd man out if I don't say something, so. Mike, Karen, well done. I thought that was well said. And to Mike, I would say in these acts, let's not forget that, 3 lives were lost here. One at the demonstration, and I did take the time to write down the names because I think we should recognize the loss of life and pray for the family and friends of Heather Heyer, brutally murdered in this domestic terrorist act. And that's exactly what it was. There's no equivocation here. This type of evil behavior and brutality is certainly a terrorist act. And we also lost 2 fine state troopers in a helicopter who, in performing their jobs to try to perform and act in a public safety way, unfortunately lost their lives. Lieutenant H.J. Cullen and the pilot trooper Burke Bates. So let's pray for them and remember their families and keep them in our prayers. And hopefully the arms of justice will move swiftly to act on this. And as I've said it before, and I'll say it again, evil exists in the world, and there's not much, I think, we can try to change the hearts of people, but we're certainly not going to root it out. But when we see it, when we find it, when we identify it, we have to condemn it, we have to call it for what it is, and we have to root it out. And if we can root it out of our society permanently, so be the better. I think there is incredible amounts of extremist rhetoric. There's no home for any of this in either political party, and certainly do not want to make this a political speech. But whenever anyone engages in extremist, violent, brutal behavior that leads to political violence, it's the antithesis of free speech, because we should be able to engage in speech, in commentary, whether we like it or not. We can disagree with each other, but we ought to be able to do it in a civil way. So I'm getting a little off tangent here with my remarks, and it certainly doesn't have much to do with Charlottesville, but in the broader context of evil and extremism. So again, when we see it, we have to stamp it out. So thank you, Karen, for your kind remarks, and Mike, I thought that was well said.
Thanks, Ken.
All right. Way to go, guys. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Good thing I did that.
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing of reports? Oh.
Did you want me to take care of this?
Yes, absolutely. Greg, thank you very much. Go
Yes,
right ahead. I appreciate it.
Yesterday afternoon, I received the following letter from Mr. Maurer. Dear Mr. LeConte, I hereby tender my resignation as a member of the Chatham Township Committee as of August 28, 2017. At that time, I will no longer be a resident of Chatham Township. I've enjoyed my short tenure on the committee and in working with all the fine employees that work so diligently on behalf of the township. Best regards, John Maurer, Chatham Township Committee member. And he also sent the following letter, which was also posted on the township website and appeared on Alternative Press. Dear Chatham Township residents, in early November 2016, I was elected to fill one of the 2 spots for the Chatham Township Committee. In late spring of 2017, I announced to the community residents that I had an opportunity to relocate my family to North Carolina, which we had carefully evaluated. When my family decided to relocate, I wanted to be visible and transparent to residents as to my pending change in situation and residency. I've always taken this role very seriously from the time that I was elected. At that time, I told the committee and Chatham residents that I would serve as committee person for as long as I continue to be a full-time resident in my current house. Although it is not public knowledge, my family and I will be closing the sale of our Chatham house at the end of August and relocating our primary residence from Chatham to Raleigh, North Carolina at that time. While we are excited to start a new chapter in our lives, we will be sad to see the moving company pack all of our belongings on August 28th and start the journey to North Carolina. I am therefore tendering my resignation as a member of the Township Committee effective August 28, 2017. It is with a great sense of gratitude for all Chatham residents who have supported me during my short tenure on the committee that I say thank you for allowing me to serve you. I will greatly miss working closely with my kindred spirits on the committee, who I believe oversee the township in a fair and reasonable manner. I was always impressed with the current committee's reasonable approach to respectfully addressing residents' concerns, while at the same time being mindful of keeping the municipal component of your taxes low and quality of services high. My wife Mary, our daughters Katie and Elizabeth, and son Johnny will all greatly miss the friends and acquaintances we have had the pleasure to know and to have worked, socialized, played, and prayed with these 20 years of having lived in this fine state. We will visit Chatham often over time, and it's never really farewell, but rather see you again sometime soon. Kindest regards, John Maurer, Chatham Township Committee Member.
Thank you, Greg. We were having a small discussion earlier about whether the township form of government is the oldest form of government in our 13 colonies, and certainly it comes close, and certainly there's a playbook for what happens in the event of one of our committee members being unable to fulfill his term. And Tom, were you going to go over it, or Al, were you just going to review for the benefit of our residents and for all of us here? Thanks so much.
Before you start, Albert, and
Thanks, Kevin.
I
Go
know
right
you're
ahead.
going to go into probably a step-by-step analysis of how this works. John was at the last meeting. John, from the time he made the decision that he knew he was going to put up his house for sale, was very transparent in what he said. I think somehow something got misreported or missaid or misstated, and no one checked with the source, the primary source being John Maurer himself. John Maurer has not moved. He's still here. Sure, he spends time traveling a lot. As a matter of fact, tonight he's in Denver at a convention. But he did exactly what he said he was going to do. And his house will be vacated on August 28th. He will still be in Chatham through Labor Day, as a matter of fact. But John, being the principled individual that he is, he decided, he just felt like, I'm selling my house, that's the day I'm closing, and that's the day, in my mind, I will no longer be a resident. We could play with the residency laws and all the other things, and we could play politics, but that's not what John was all about. John was committed to serving the town. He did that well. He was on vacation for the last 2 weeks. I spoke to him before he left, and right up to the very end, we've had conversations about items in town that are of concern in the nature that we are dealing with. He continued to fill all his responsibilities. So somehow this story was out there. It's unfortunate that it got so much traction that it even made headlines in the paper. But John has been with us and is still with us and will be here through Labor Day. And again, he did exactly what he said he would do. And he has now let us know that the effective date of his closing is August 28th. So with that, I'll pass it along to you, Albert.
The procedure from this point forward, or really from August 28th forward, is as follows. No later than 15 days after the effective date of the resignation, or September 12, 2017, the Municipal Political Party Committee, in this case, the Republican Party Committee that nominated Mr. Maurer, has 15 days to submit 3 nominees to the Township Committee, one of whom shall be selected by the Township Committee to temporarily fill the seat until it is filled for the balance of the term at the November 7 general election. The Township Committee is to select one of the 3 nominees no later than 30 days after the effective date of Mr. Maurer's resignation, or September 27, 2017. If the Municipal Political Committee fails to nominate 3 individuals within 15 days after the effective date of the resignation, then the Township Committee may, within 15 additional days, fill the seat with a member of the Republican Party. If the Township Committee fails to select one of the 3 individuals submitted by the Political Committee within the required time, then the selection of one of the 3 reverts back to the Political Committee, again here, the Republican Committee, who shall select one of the 3 within the next 15 days. At the November 7, 2017 general election, the seat shall be on the ballot to be filled for the remainder of the unexpired term, and that term expires on December 31, 2019. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Albert. I appreciate that. Thanks for the clarity. I know that will help our residents. And now we can proceed with reports. Am I correct? Mike?
Yes, thanks, Karen. I do have a report on the DPW, which has been very active. They've been converting the lighting outdoors here at the town hall to LED lights, and are finished with the parking lights. They're now starting with the soffit lights around the building itself, exterior. These are brighter, longer lasting, and save some money, so that's a good move. The work is progressing on installing the recycling compactor down at the recycling station on Tanglewood. The electrical connections are made, and the equipment is on order, and so it should be moving forward. And then would have some testing and training, and fairly soon the public will see it in action to replace some of the open roll-off containers that are there now. As a kind of an example of the changing seasons for the DPW, they've been active at Colony Pool painting. They have working on the roof of the pumping station and stones in the parking lot, so they're wearing their summer hats. For fall, they've just recently finished repainting the turf field over at Chuntike for fall sports. That's a once-a-year project there. And then for winter, if you can believe it, next week they start testing their salt spreaders and plows, so they have time to make repairs and maintenance if need be. Also, later on in tonight's agenda, there'll be an item for approval for an upcoming auction of DPW equipment. 2 vehicles, several mowers, a blower, and assorted smaller equipment. So they've been busy. Thank you, Mayor.
No report.
Very good. Just in addition to Mike's comments on the new the recycling compactor down at the Tanglewood facility, we laugh about no battle plan ever standing up to its first encounter with the enemy. When so many of us have gotten used to going down to the Tanglewood recycling facility, we know how it works, everybody's in a rhythm when it comes to it, it's going to be definitely a change. It'll be a change in pattern. We will have our DPW fellas there to supervise it, but we ask everybody to kind of go with the flow to the best of their ability. And you know what? In the long run, I think it's a great solution for us here in Chatham Township, but to be patient as we see the new work in progress. Also a quiet time around the township for me personally. I would like to report and bid farewell to Deputy Chief Mike Glogolich of the Chatham Township Volunteer Fire Department. Mike and the other volunteers with the fire department had a farewell send-off on Saturday evening, and we bid him adieu as he departs for a career with the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol in California. So certainly an adventure, nice to be young and flexible, and off he goes. We thank Deputy Chief Mike Glogolich. We thank the whole Glogolich family for participating and for serving the township.
And a good time to remind people that Mike was probably the youngest deputy chief that we've had, 25 years old, I believe he is, and he's young. And most of our fire department is young, and they're looking for volunteers. So anyone who'd like to serve the township in any capacity, whether Green Village Fire Department or River Road Fire Department, the doors are open.
Thank you. John?
The 2017 road resurfacing program, I'm happy to say, is substantially complete. The paving went very well. I have to, just mention how much work the DPW did over the last month, and I added probably about double that because, again, just to remind the committee, we use the Morris County Co-op, and so utilizing the Morris County Co-op is a very competitive or cost-effective way of doing paving. We do not have to go out to bid, so you save on the soft costs of doing a bid document. And just for comparison purposes, if the DPW takes their own truck and purchases asphalt material, they're paying $53.50, we're paying $60 a ton, it's $53.50 a ton. We're paying $60 a ton, only $6.50 more to have the contractor haul it, place it, compact it, and do all the work that they do. So it's incredible, very efficient price. But it does come at their scope of work that they do. They just pave. They don't, if a curb becomes loose or if a catch basin needs fixing, they don't do that work. That's something that I have to call up Rich and say, hey, I need help, I need this fixed, I need that. Because a lot of the neighborhoods, some of the curbs didn't hold up. It was just had to be fixed before we actually did the paving after the milling. So overall, the work went very well. We do have some follow-up punch list items that we need to address on a couple of driveways, and we're working to resolve those. So it went well. We also, since the last meeting, we did get authorization from the New Jersey DOT to pave Robert Street and a portion of Dale and Spring, where that's being done under a DOT grant. And so there's a procedure that we had to go through and get all our paperwork in order to get that authorization. But we did receive that. So Roberts, we are paving and milling and paving that next week. So we'll also complete that section of the road. And then lastly, we had, in addition to the road resurfacing this year, is the complete mill and pave of Lafayette. And that came about by, we recently met with the water company regarding their next step of doing trench restoration along Lafayette, where they installed a new water main. And after discussing concerns regarding the condition of the road, basically they have agreed to, in lieu of just doing the trench restoration, is to give the township in lieu of doing the restoration, give us payment, and that payment is in $215,000. So utilizing the Morris County Co-op again, being a very efficient way of paving, we're going to be able to mill and pave curb to curb and complete the entire road within that dollar amount. So we will have a follow-up. I know Tom did make calls to the committee, just informing you that this arrangement has been made, and we did want to get this paving in before school started. So we have authorized the work, and the work has actually started today. So the milling is going to be completed tomorrow and paving next week of the roadway. We do have also, we're going to be utilizing Denville Line Striping, who's under the Morris County Co-op, to do the line striping, and then Gen Electric to do the loop detectors over at the light. So we will have follow-up resolutions on the next agenda just to follow up with those, but that is work time. So that's exciting that we're getting that entire road paved for virtually for no cost. And so that's the bulk. There's other activities going on in town with capital projects. They started doing the generator on the municipal building, installing the underground wire and setting up a cabinet and finalizing the scope that we had under a FEMA grant. But all that is kind of dwarfed with all the paving and everything else that we've done. And there's been other work at the plants, but it's not worth mentioning at this time. The only thing I'd mention tonight is that there is, under the consent agenda, a change order to close out one of the sewer contracts. It does reference, it's basically a change order to do an as-bid versus as-built quantity under the contract. The contract was basically a unit price contract where we have estimated quantities and we pay them on the actual quantities. This will be the second and closeout change order. The first change order, as you recall, was to partially, it was the additional work that we added to the contract to do a partial demo of the Chatham Glen plant. And then this change order is really catching up with the majority of where we went over on quantities, that we did change the paving within the sewer project from a trench restoration to a complete overlay, and that's really where the extra quantities came in. So that's where just finalizing that contract. A little delay finalizing the contract because we did have a problem with one of the pieces of equipment that was installed. We ended up going through with the manufacturer, and it just took some time to resolve that issue, but we're closing it out now.
Great. Thank you, John. I would just like to say thanks to Tom and to John for working so closely with New Jersey American Water. It speaks to the increased congenial relationship we have with them, to know the lines of communication were open, to be able to walk out there on the route, hold their feet to the fire, and to
That's what
say,
happens when you hire a people person.
a real people person. Tom Chickarone, ladies and gentlemen.
You engage your skills.
But, you know, we had a great quid pro quo conversation, and the idea that what can be done within the township is better than, anytime you can keep it here, that's great, instead of hiring contractors and subcontractors, et cetera. So I think it speaks to the increased congenial nature we have with those folks. We're happy to see the project approaching completion, especially as we get down to the end of the summer and the beginning of the school year. So thank you both, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Curb
If
to
if I
curb.
may.
May I reiterate, curb to
Curb to
curb.
curb, yep, the whole street. I want to again commend John Rushke for the sewer project, because I think it sometimes gets overlooked just how creative he was in coming up with the solution to combine the two plants and to do the treatment at Tanglewood and then to pump the effluent back to the Passaic River, getting it out of the swamp. We no longer divert our sewage effluent into the Great Swamp. And had we continued on that path, we were in a situation where we were going to really not be able to meet the water quality standards, particularly for TDS and some other issues that were coming down the road. Sometimes the water that we get at the tap exceeds the limits for TDS, so it was virtually impossible, and it would have cost an enormous amount of money to modify the plant and to have to probably do reverse osmosis at the same time that the Chatham Glen plant was really on its last legs and was going to need major capital improvements as well. So the combination that John thought of wound up saving us literally millions of dollars. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. And on top of that, it also came in way under the original estimates. When you go back and look at the amount of money that we are authorized from the New Jersey Environmental Infrastructure Trust Program, we did a $7 million loan. And I think we're going to probably be well maybe in $5.5 million range. So we're about $1.5 million under even what the estimate was. And then the last piece of that is to remind everyone that by financing it through the Environmental Infrastructure Trust Program, half of the money was at 0% interest. And then the other half is market rate interest loan. So you wind up getting the whole thing at a much reduced rate, and it was just, you know, a perfect way to address that project. And it now is being closed out, and it functions, it works beautifully, and John deserves a tremendous amount of credit for that. I'm not sure, did you actually get an award from the
John won
Engineers
an award
Association? You
from the
did,
New
right?
Jersey Society of Municipal Engineers.
But I want to keep selling it, though, because I'm not sure that people in the community understand what a great job he did with that project and how much money that has saved us long term. So thank you
Sewage
again.
isn't such an alluring topic, right? But you make it look that way, John. Thank you.
Out of sight, out of mind.
And the only other thing that I would like to take a moment to say is to commend the three of you for your inspirational words this evening. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. All righty. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Now is the time for hearing of citizens. Oh, sure. Well, let's invite Rob Walton. I know you're a busy man, Rob. We'll get to the hearing of citizens after. Rob is our representative for JCP&L. Thanks for joining us.
Sure. Good evening, Deputy Mayor and Committee. Rob Walton, Jersey Central Power and Light, 52 Chatham Road, City of Summit. Three quick things. I noticed you mentioned that the township is putting in LED lights in your parking lot. JCP&L also has LED lights for street lights. If you're interested in swapping from the sodium vapor lights to LEDs, we're happy to do so. The rates are very good for the higher voltage lights. For 50-watt equivalent, it's about the same. But it's certainly something that the township is interested in. We can certainly meet and discuss that. Number two, we keep a database of critical care and well water customers at JCP&L for priority restoration during outages. And we share that list with the municipal OEM coordinators to ensure that the township is aware of who's on our list, who might be a critical care customer, and also so the township, if they know of anyone who's critical care, to have them register with us for this prioritization. So we sent that out about 3 weeks ago to your OEM coordinator, to Kevin, and hopefully you had a chance to look at that. I know you've had a busy summer, maybe you haven't. But if there's someone in your community that you know of that's not on the list, please let us know so we can get them registered. And finally, JCP&L has a special promotion with Nissan. We are offering $10,000 off the price of a Nissan Leaf, which is an electrical car, to any of our customers. All you got to do is go to our website There's a code on there, bring your bill to the dealer, and you can buy a new Nissan Leaf for $10,000 off. They retail for $30,000 to $36,000, so $10,000 off is quite a bargain, and I think you get a $7,500 tax credit in addition to that. So it's a limited time offer, so usually not here to sell stuff, but I just wanted to make that announcement as well. So,
What do
and
you
always
have-
happy to
what do
answer
you have for
questions.
Mercedes?
That's great.
That's great.
Anybody?
That's
Questions?
fantastic, Rob, thank you.
Chief, did you get that information for the new police cars?
No police cars. We'll go rushing on down with our coupons.
Okay, very good.
All
Thank you
right,
very much. Have a
Rob,
good night.
thank you as
Thank you.
always for joining us. We really appreciate it. Moving along, and thank you, Kevin. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues which are not topics scheduled for public hearing tonight. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. Welcome.
Hello. Should I say my name?
Name and address.
Okay. My name is Bob Higgins from 5J Road, Chatham Township. First of all, I read in the patch today your comments that you then read today, and I just wanted to say they were terrific. And then your extemporaneous were terrific as well, so thank you for that. I also read John's resignation letter, and that was really, and I know we covered it tonight, I just had a couple questions arising from the rules and kind of how they work. I'm not a Republican, I'm an independent or unaffiliated, and if I had wanted to, put my name in for John's seat, how would that work? So I get that there's the temporary role, and then on the 7th, the Republican committee will nominate someone to run for that seat. Is that an unopposed seat, or is it a free ball, and if you're an independent, you can run for that seat?
That's why we have Albert.
That's why we have Tom.
Albert has
For
Tom.
for November 7th, anybody can run.
Anyway.
The two political parties can nominate candidates, and anybody else can run as well. But you have to get the rules from the Board of Elections. I don't have those details, but you do file a petition and you can run.
Okay, so, but on the Chatham Community Board of Election,
If you
The county.
reach out to the Morris County Clerk's Office, the Elections Office, they can walk you through the process for petitioning.
great,
It would be, your petition would be submitted directly to them.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else?
Hello. Kathy Abbott, 40 Wynwood Road. And again, thank you for the comments about Charlottesville. Anything happening here tonight pales in comparison if there's any disagreements, polarization. But I wanted to suggest that next time, if you're all reelected, and I know 2 of you are up right now, but the bylaws maybe should be changed so that it's not all about residency, but about number of meetings missed as a township committee person. So, and I just, before we even knew what was going on with Mr. Moore's resignation, I was checking his number of absences. And tonight would make the 4 out of the last 6 meetings since the May 25th meeting that he has been absent. And of course, you're saying he lives here technically, but he's not able because of work to be here. So even if that happened for anyone who was traveling and never leaving town, I think it's a good idea to consider the amount of time that the person has to give and to make a trigger point like missing 4 meetings, something like that, that you be asked, what are your plans, something like that, where there's a level of commitment, because it's not just these meetings, it's all the meetings that you're supposed to be at on a monthly basis. The rec committee for Mr. Moore or whatever else he was assigned to that's not listed on the town website that are things that are internal, like finance or public safety. A suggestion.
Madam Mayor, if I may just address that briefly.
Thank you, Albert.
Vacancies are governed by the municipal vacancy law. And that's a law passed by the New Jersey State Legislature to govern in a uniform way from one municipality to the next when a vacancy is triggered. Number of absences is governed by the vacancy law, and there are a series of 7 or 8 other reasons under which a vacancy can be declared. It would be my view that that law supersedes your individual bylaws, because the municipalities should treat all of their elected officials in a uniform way, whether you're in Bergen County or Salem County. And so that may facially appear to be a good suggestion, but it has to be, you're governed by the municipal vacancy law, and I do not believe you could supersede that. Thank you.
Thank you, Albert. Anyone else, folks? All right, seeing no one else.
Sorry, can I just ask a follow-up question? Sorry. My name is Christina Mott, and I'm at 22 Nicholson Drive in Chatham Township. And I just had a follow-up question. So you were mentioning the vacancy law. Can you tell us what it is for the record? Because I'm not familiar what it is. And I was also wondering how strictly the definitions for residency are, I guess they're outlined very specifically in the law as to what, no? You're shaking your head no.
The issue of residency gets very complicated. People are allowed to have many residences, and many people do. They own homes at the shore, in the mountains, here, and the issue of what is their legal residence becomes a matter largely of what their intention is, and what they declare to be their home, and where they have their driver's license, where they file their taxes, all those, where they vote. So there's a whole lot of things that go into determining what is your legal residence for voting purposes and the holding of elective office.
Right, but
And the municipal vacancy law does not address that. It addresses it in the simplest terms of if you no longer are a resident, then you're no longer qualified.
okay.
This is from NJSA 40:A:16-3. It lists subsections A through H. The first being, and I'll summarize them, if there's a judicial declaration that a vacancy exists, upon the death of the mayor or member of the governing body, upon a determination of the other governing body members that the mayor or other member of the governing body no longer resides within the corporate limits of the municipality or ward from which that person was elected, upon the refusal of the mayor or member of a governing body to qualify or serve, upon a judicial declaration that the mayor or member of the governing body shall have become physically or mentally incapable of serving, upon the filing of a written resignation by the with the municipal clerk by the mayor or member of the governing body, upon whenever the mayor, when required by law to attend meetings, where the governing body member shall fail to attend and participate in meetings of the governing body for a period of 8 consecutive weeks. And I think that's what was referred to before.
Right.
Specifically covered by the vacancy law. Upon a determination that the office comes within the purview of another law. So it's very clear, and if you Google NJSA 40:16-3, it'll tell you what when an office is deemed vacant, and that is a part of the municipal vacancy law. There are other laws that deal with vacancies, but this is a very specific law dealing with the municipal body. The others are of a more general nature, and the more specific would govern over the more general.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yes, that's the other thing. The law doesn't define residency, as Mr. Chiccarone said. The law is defined by case law, and you have to read cases to figure out what those parameters are.
Thank you for your clarification.
Hi, I'm Genevieve from 104 Ormont. My question is, I missed earlier when you said Mr. Maurer indicated that he might leave, and I was wondering what your role and responsibility is in keeping residents informed of such a move or such a vacancy going to happen, because we've really come into the mix in the past couple of days when, we heard all this was going on. And if we knew, and he has been absent at least 4 times, was it possible that you could have informed the residents earlier than today?
Well, I think my point was that Mr. Maurer did inform the residents. He was very transparent. He sat up here and told you, told the public what his intentions were, that he had taken a new job, that he was traveling, that he would continue to serve to the best of his abilities, and when he made the decision that he could no longer serve, that he would step down. That's I'm paraphrasing, I suppose, what he said, but that was more or less it. So in that, what I was saying in that nature, that he was very communicative with the public about what was going on in his personal life, his professional life, and how he was going to deal with it. And, yes, did he miss some meetings? Yes, he did. I don't know the consecutive weeks. But again, that was all due, obviously, why he knew he was going to step down. But he was at the last meeting.
So,
and again, yes, Ms. Abbott is right. There are other functions here, but there's more to what we do than getting together every 2 weeks and sitting up here and pontificating about things. So we do a lot on a daily basis. But yes.
Absolutely. So where might I be able to get a record of that meeting?
You can go to our website and pull up all the old videos of our meetings are on the website.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Thank you for your statement.
My pleasure. Also, the meetings, as you know, are televised. Anybody who is not here, obviously, is watching at home throughout 4,000 households in Chatham Township. The meetings are obviously available through the website once the minutes have been verified, voted on by us. There's no shortage of information. It's just a matter of knowing that you're looking for something. And certainly, the more involved you are in our government process, the better it is for you, for your family, for your neighbors. We encourage
Absolutely.
everybody to come take an active role, make sure you're watching at home on TV. Our Chatham Courier, the Tap into Chatham, do an excellent job of covering all of the things that go on that are important. So, without wanting to sound glib or disrespectful by any means, communication is a two-way street. It really is. We do our level best to make sure that we are vocal, transparent, available, etc. And engagement on both sides is a great thing. So thanks for being here, particularly. Hope we see you again here.
You will.
All
Thank
right.
you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Just to add one more thing, if I could, Karen. When the letter arrived today, a town hall made moves to put the letter itself is on our township website as of today. Anyone who signed up for an Act Now notification got a specific notification emailed to their home that this position is vacant, and it also is posted on Facebook. So thank you for getting the word out so that, again, all those people who are interested would be aware.
Well, and certainly weeks and weeks ago, John Maurer did announce that he was moving. I mean, weeks and weeks ago. His house has been on the market for a number of weeks. He has made no secret that his business has called him to be away more than he anticipated. So it truly has been public knowledge that he was relocating. So there's never really been any intention to obfuscate, to be anything less than transparent to our folks.
John Strelkoff, 544 Green Village Road. I just wanted to ask for clarification. Does the committee have to go through any more steps to officially declare a vacancy? And this will be on the ballot in November?
The answer to your question is no. Mr. Maurer has resigned effective August 28th. And by virtue of that, the county clerk will address the vacancy on the ballot.
Okay, thank you.
And the county clerk's office, yeah, it will be on the ballot. I've already, earlier today, notified the county clerk's office of the resignation effective the 28th. The Democratic Committee Chairman called me this morning, so the party's aware. So it's going to be on the ballot. There's nothing more to do on our end. Now it's up to the parties to do their work.
Okay, thanks. And thank you, because a lot of people are involved behind the scenes working on this, so thank you, everyone.
Thanks, John. Seeing no one else come forward, we can move on to the consent agenda, please, Greg?
This evening we have Resolution 2017-147, payment of bills, 2017-148, receipt of reports, 2017-149, approving meeting minutes, 2017-150, Colony Luau refunds, 2017-151, Colony membership refund, 2017-152, appointing member of Zoning Board of Adjustment, 2017-153, establishing escrow account to pay special master fees, 2017-154, releasing performance bond, 2017-155, approving interlocal agreement with County of Morris for Shunpike corridor improvements, 2017-156, authorizing the sale of surplus property, and 2017-157, authorizing change order for Chatham Glen Pump Station project.
I, for one, will be abstaining on 2017-150 because I'm one of the ones receiving a refund. Sorely disappointed that the pig roast did not take place. Is there any discussion on any other items?
Yeah, I would like to request that
Right,
item
okay.
2017-155, the agreement as far as in regards to Shunpike corridor improvements, that I think it would probably be best served if this goes before the planning board, before a review. It is a critical part of our town and in our master plan, so I think it's appropriate that they have a look at it and have some opinion on it. I have my concerns about it, as I've mentioned here and to you, and probably maybe best to have that board take a look at it and offer an opinion. So they do meet, we are meeting Monday night, so I think it's, you know.
So is your suggestion that that resolution be
I'm
from
suggesting,
tonight's-
yes.
So you're moving to, that it be removed from tonight's agenda?
Right, right. And placed before the planning board, before it comes back to us. I don't think there's a rush on this request, Tom, is there?
I don't think so. John, do you recall what the schedule is? There's no urgency at this point.
No, I'm not aware of any deadline or anything. We have time.
Yep.
Does anybody have any objection to that?
No, I'll second the motion.
All in favor of the motion to withdraw that one resolution?
Aye.
Right.
Motion is referred to the plan.
Refer the, to
And
refer the
Yeah, pull it and refer.
resolution to the planning board. Well, shall we have a vote on the rest of the consent agenda? or-
Yeah, motion and a second for that.
What's that? For-
So moved.
There we are. So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Yes to all with the exception of 2017-150. I'll abstain.
Okay, that
All right. Any further discussion on any other matters? Hearing of citizens for the second.
I would
Chuck?
like to-
Kevin,
I
thank
would
you very
like to bring
much.
up a discussion item that John and I have had some discussion on this in regards to below-grade garages, basically tear-downs and rebuilds, and the effect, whether that's a good idea or bad idea in the planning process and the building process. And I would like to suggest, I'm giving the planning board a lot of work tonight, but that the planning board look at this issue and evaluate it and come back. We don't address it in our present ordinances, and I would like the planning board to take a look at that and come back to us and render an opinion on that. John, I don't know if you want to weigh in on any comments about that. We do have some in town, obviously, that,
Do you want to explain a little further what Kevin means by below-grade garages? I think it's an interesting subject.
More and more builders are coming up with designs that put the garages below grade, where you're driving down into a grade that's below the surrounding area, and the developers are installing sump pumps in order to get the water out of the depressed area, which it's every time the design comes before me, I always in bold letters indicate this is a horrible design. This is just, because under a major storm event, the basement could be flooded. You're just creating a tub, but no one seems to take my advice, but they proceed. But it is a problem, because if someone doesn't watch, if a homeowner doesn't watch what the sump pumps and maintain it, and that could be a problem for people. So it's just
Have
something.
we seen any evidence? I mean, certainly we've had a couple of these homes that have been around for
Nothing
a
that is
number of
reported to
years now.
me. No, nothing that has been done. Have you heard of any?
I don't think we've had any real tests yet. The test comes when you have a new home that's built this subgrade garage with a sump pump. If they don't have a generator and we have a power failure and a major storm, then they're going to get flooded. There's just no question about it. Somehow people never learned that water runs downhill, and I don't get that. Yeah.
Well, this was something that has been brought up as a discussion matter anecdotally for a couple of years now.
Yeah, oh,
So
absolutely.
I think that
There were other
Discussion.
issues, retaining walls, height, et cetera, but I really think the more specific issue is the visual height, for sure, from a neighbor's perspective, that creates. But I don't want to go into the height ordinance right now, but I think just evaluating that was the first step. So if anyone, have an objection, I would like to put that on the planning board's agenda.
Great. Well, at this time, we have another opportunity for hearing of citizens, and I urge anyone, Donna, nice to see you, anyone who'd like to come forward, thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Donna Lyons, 21 Woodmont Drive in the Township. I feel that I just need to say something and maybe clarify a little bit what actually happened here. It is clear to me, based on everything that's happened and what you all said, that John Mauer has done the right thing. He was transparent. He announced months ago that he was going to move, and he sent in his letter of resignation. However, approximately a week ago, I read in, it was either Tap Into or the Chatham Courier, that the Republican Party was looking for replacements or applications for replacements for John Mauer because he had moved, I believe the article said. I emailed Kurt Ritter and asked him if it was going to be on the agenda this evening to talk about if the seat was vacant or declare the seat vacant and what was the process going to be. And this is the email that he sent me back. Excuse me. I have not been made aware of any resignation, nor of the fact that he is no longer living in Chatham Township. John remains a member of the Township Committee and continues to dutifully serve the residents of Chatham Township. Have a great weekend. Now, technically, if you look at those words, they're probably true. He hadn't resigned yet. However, I don't think that was in the spirit of transparency at all, and I know Mr. Ritter is not here to answer, but I feel that this needs to be said, that was the entire email, and there was nothing in that email saying we expect him to resign soon or we're not sure when he's moving. He made it sound like he had never heard of this. And so I appreciate that you all want to be transparent, but I have to say that this is not transparent, and that's why some people were upset, because they felt like somebody was trying to hide something. And whether or not that was true, I don't know, but these kinds of responses elicit the kind of response that we all had. So,
Donna, when a member of the public comes out and says that somebody has moved, there certainly should be some fact-checking, to use a well-trodden phrase. John's house was granted on the market for everybody to see, and he announced many weeks ago that he had plans to relocate. as far as him submitting a resignation, I think we can all stand here and say, John has not submitted a resignation until Greg just read it.
Yes,
and
no, I
he's still
agree.
not resigned. as
I,
you know,
I absolutely
so.
agree that there's nothing in this email that actually, when you look at the specific words, that's a lie. The question is, what was the intent of this email? It was,
And if I may, I think I can help you to understand.
yeah.
Because I was copied on a whole bunch of emails.
Yeah, I think I emailed you also.
That you may have. I
Yeah.
know that I've read that. There were similar ones. There was, in fact, a form statement that somebody put together that was emailed by many, many residents of the town, posing the question and demanding that this township committee be prepared tonight to take action to declare the seat vacant. And that's not the way the process works. Had Mr. Mauer not submitted his resignation, he would still be duly elected and would still be serving until such time as he chose to resign, when he could no longer fulfill his obligations. In the meantime, to put the township committee on the spot to begin a process of declaring the seat vacant, and he is entitled to due process. It would require a public hearing, notice to him, and it's not, and I think I said to a couple of people, it's not as cut and dry as you might think. There's a process to go through in order for this township committee to declare the seat vacant. And that's what people were asking the committee to do. And it was premature. So I think the mayor's response was partly due to the fact that he probably had about 30 of those, and he's on vacation, and he gave you the best answer he could, which, you know, he could have maybe done it a little shorter
I
and
think
said
what
it's
you just
premature to even talk about
explained
this.
makes sense. I have no issue with, you know, asking a question, is the seat going to be declared vacant? I didn't demand anything. I can't speak for anyone else, but I asked a question. And I believe that an explanation that is a little more transparent than this form email that he clearly sent to everybody who wrote to him probably would have gone
Maybe, but
a little
again,
further towards
but understand,
understanding the situation.
The problem,
So-
again, though, is that the timing of the resignation also dictated the process. There were,
Yeah.
you know, whether it was 60 days out,
Yeah.
whether it was 70 days out, there's a lot of complicating factors to it. And at the time that you made that inquiry, none of us knew the answers as to what was actually going to happen. Mr. Mauer had not yet reached a decision on what he was going to do or when he was going to do it. So I think that the mayor did the best he could to give you as much information as he properly could.
Okay, and I would just say that even to say this is a complicated issue and we will discuss it at the meeting would have been, I think, a little, it would have eased some of the tensions. So I'm not saying that because we can go back and change
Yeah,
it. I'm just saying
You can take
in
that
the
up with him
future.
again next meeting.
I'm
when
just
he's
saying
here.
in the future to be clear about what's really going on, because some of us were not at those earlier meetings when Mr. Mauer said he was resigning, and it was surprising to me that so many people knew he was leaving and
Can
that
I interrupt?
response.
Did you know his house was under contract? or was potentially
I
going
live
under
around the
contract?
corner from him, so
So did you know his house was going under contract and it looked like it was going to be sold?
yes, I believe I was aware of
So
that.
I think there was a fair amount, my point is, I think there was
Yeah.
a fair amount of information. We had a fair amount of information. And the information that we had was, yeah, we know John's leaving. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what he said. It's just a matter of time. And when his house eventually started going through the contractual process, we knew that time frame was going to be sped up. And so when that final decision was eventually made, and by the way, John was, you know, not that I want to share his whole personal life with everyone here, but he was in Alaska. He was out of touch in cell phone service. But he, when that decision got final, that's when he made his decision. So I know there was a fair amount of information out in the public circle. Maybe many of you here had it, understanding and knowing that his house was going to contract. So the fact that we knew that, you know, the fact that we needed to take some urgent action probably would have been, you know, a stress and a strain on everyone that was unnecessary, knowing the fact that his house was going under contract and he was going to resign at, you know, pretty soon.
Okay. I mean, I think the outcome is the outcome that it should have been. He's moving, he's declared it. I just felt that I wanted to say that the email that I received, to me, was just misleading, and it's just, take it for what it's worth. Thank you.
But I think it was factual. In the mayor's defense, who's not here, I'd say it was factual.
The resignation letter from Mr. Mauer was not received by me until 3:51 p.m. yesterday, so the mayor was correct. There was no resignation until yesterday, late yesterday afternoon.
Anyone else? Greg, do we have an executive session this evening?
Yes, we do. Resolution 2017-P-11, resolution of the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing conference of the Township Committee with the public excluded. Whereas NJSA 10:4-12 of the Open Public Meetings Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey as follows. The public shall be excluded from discussion of the specified subject matter. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Litigation in the matter of the Township of Chatham for a judgment of compliance of its third round housing element and fair share plan, docket number MRS-L-1659-15. B, property acquisition, open space, and C, personnel, public works. It is anticipated that the minutes on the subject matter of the executive session will be made public upon conclusion of the matter under discussion, and in any event, when appropriate pursuant to NJSA 10:4-7 and 4-13, the committee will come back into regular session and may take further action. This resolution shall take effect immediately. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Swartz?
Yes?
And yes, we do expect to take action after.
Very good. I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? What?
We're going to executive session. Adjournment comes later.
Adjournment comes later. Thank you for being with us, everyone.